Hey, YouTubers, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the Permission Statement. I am Johnny X-Ray, and I appreciate you for coming. And for those of y'all who just got here, appreciate you for taking the time and energy to listen to what I got to say, because it is quite a bit, and the narrative is going to be a humdinger. I just want to warn you up front. And I'm putting forward the meat and the potatoes of the narrative, and eventually, like I say, we'll be bringing in people to interview. Hopefully we can get Noah Weiland on here. I know we got a bunch of other people that I wanted to interview, Gabelo Rivera and some other people to talk about their pain and their suffrage and how what happened to people that they love and care about impacted their lives, whether they gave themselves permission to do something negative or use that as a driving force to do something positive. Yesterday I had a bit of a debate with the last person I thought I would have a debate with, and it brought me to the realization, which happens quite often as I go through this process with this channel and with what I'm going through here. There's these, I would say, epiphanies, I guess you could say, or realizations that are born out of either the discussions or the debate or going back in time speaking to people. And it kind of goes along with what I've been pushing forward, that there's, at least in my dilemma, there's people that have almost hijacked suffrage or empowerment for their own benefit. Now, there's people that have either suffered or been tethered to people that have suffered and have suffered as a result, not maybe indirectly. And they come forward with these channels or with these movements to help other people selflessly. They're not there for profit. More than likely, there's a catharsis, which I feel there's a catharsis for you to be able to get out there and maybe to help other people. And then there's some people that are monetizing it and they're selling healing and catharsis, and they're selling empowerment, or at least that's the, how you say, I would say at least the ulterior motive. And I'm not hating on them for that, but it tripped me out because I was like taken aback at the discussion that I had with the individual. And I always encourage people to really sit there and look in the mirror and think about the truth and how the truth would impact that individual if the truth is brought forward, which is what we're dealing with in this circumstance. In my narrative is the truth was kind of kept under the surface for a long time because it seemed healthy until it wasn't healthy. It was unhealthy, and it was like, hey, based on the actual chronology, not on what other people think, something has to be done about this. And it's like you're either enabling or you're codependent and you're running with it. And then who knows, you might be under threat. Like in my circumstance, the threat was like, oh, if you don't put up with this, then it's like, then I'll take away all this, which was the thing that I cared the most about. I built my family and rebuilt my life. And this isn't like some kind of like, oh, I'm just saying it to say it to sound wonderful. I mean, I can show y'all I built this on the death of people that I cared about, my brothers. And so I should have, but I couldn't just make it about myself. Maybe that wasn't enough. But when I was able to reprogram and make it about them, for at least in the interim, so I could get enough momentum that now I have a son that needs me and I had a family, then I could make it about them. But I didn't have that. So utilizing their death as an obligation to sit there and better myself, get clean and sober, to deal with the mental obstacles of the suffrage of the pain in the past, which is a lifelong process. That's something I'm going to dip into right now too. And so that was able to compel me to grab that energy for us to move forward till I got enough momentum and something just as important, if not more, to carry me through moving forward. And that would be was my family. Now it's my son, because the other is under, it's on fire. And I noticed that some of the people in these empowering movements or in position of how you say, handing down power or empowerment, um, when you talk about your suffrage, whatever it may be, whenever I hear them automatically discounting or negating somebody else's suffrage, saying, "Well, I went through this," and so that that doesn't make any sense, because not everybody's suffrage is the same. Now, one of the people I want to interview on here is the spouse of one of the Ramrod brothers, who unfortunately took his life about a year ago, and what she went through dealing with PTSD and saw the decline of her husband and the underlying issues surrounding that. And a lot of people automatically associate that with the deployment, but after speaking to her and finding out more information, he had a lifelong of pain. It wasn't just the deployment. He had suffered as a child, as I did, and other kids here in Napa. That stayed with him. Eventually it led to substance abuse, and then you have like I say, you keep stacking it, and the ACEs score gets higher and higher. An ACEs score is this like system that they use where they take these different check boxes, and the more check boxes the more boxes you check, the higher your ACEs score is, which lets them know what your threat level is of substance abuse or any of these other things that they impose on people's life and happiness. And so his ACEs score was definitely high. Then he deployed. He was in Fallujah. He's been through heck, seen his brothers died, taking human life, etc. And so he had to battle all that as a comprehensive mental struggle. It wasn't just the one thing. And she knew more than other people, but I wanted to bring her here. She has a master's degrees in psychology, etc., etc. So she's a knowledgeable person, a wealth of information, not just educationally, but as far as the life experience she had. She found her husband, passed away, had to cut him down. It's a painful story. I got a group of people that came in here, and so they have kids, so I have to bring my tone down because I don't want them to hear a lot of what's going on here. And so, some people, I have to make a video to kind of express like where's the point of going here. And when we get to the end of all this, for those of you that are here, it's on a different level. People are going to be like, what? How is this even possible? And this battle that I have with Napa County, where they're trying to clean up in-house right here at the expense of the future of my son after everything that I went through. And it's just me here. And I'm up against everybody, from these people connected to Napa Empowering Women's Services that were actively involved in all this behavior, from the alcoholism to the connection to the very same people that I have no desire to have anywhere near my family or my life. So it goes. Me and other kids were harmed here. I was born into a family that moved to Napa in like the 70s. It's the Heist family. It's this old, like, Mexicano, Euro Mexicano family who like came from Mexico in the 1800s and from Europe in the 1800s as well. But there was this like really harsh disciplinary style that was handed down to children, which is not discipline at all. It's abuse. And so it was resonated through generations and generations. And so that was the first introduction to violence at a young age. There was opportunities for child welfare services to do what they should have done, and that didn't happen. That leads to runaway, right? Because as a kid, I had to make a decision: either take my life at 9 years old, and I tried, it didn't work. But a 9-year-old kid shouldn't have to do that. Then it goes forward. The abuse continues, and then at 12, I have to make a decision to either take human life, which I decided not to do, and I chose to run away. That decision to run away lands me on the streets multiple times, and then eventually to being arrested for being a homeless juvenile, carrying nunchakas for protection, and then catapulted into a system of juvenile violence, which the people that are housed in juvenile facilities in San Diego and other places, there's juvenile murders in there, like the highest caliber to the medium to the lowest. They don't separate it. with the roughest of the rough. And so then that goes on to programs, into foster care, and then catapulted out into violence on the street, of course. And then you get sent to California Youth Authority, which is exacerbated juvenile violence. So then, who are you in there with? Murderers. You're in there with juvenile murderers and some of the most elite of the bad side of juvenile criminality for the entire state of California. So your peers for that period of time are there. You have to be merciless in there. It's zero tolerance for weakness. If you're not as rough as the paint or as the walls and the metal in there that holds you in there, then you will become a victim, because it's a hyper predatory environment, so you got to be about the business, right? So again, being catapulted, having to make a decision to take human life, deciding otherwise, and as a result being pressed forward into more violence and more exposure to murders, kidnappers, etc. Then that experience leading to going to the Conservation Corps and then into the Army and being trained as an infantryman to fight on a whole different level what most people think they are capable of. And then being deployed with none other than the 2-2 infantry of the Big Red One to go stop, confront murders, right? So you deploy as a peacekeeper on behalf of NATO and the United Nations to a country where people are being ethnically cleansed, and you and other people place yourselves in harm's way, away from your families, with each other, brother to brother, shoulder to shoulder, side to side, and you stop murder, people that are taking the lives of other people. And so again, it keeps coming back into play, right? And then you press on forward, and so now you've been exposed to another layer of violence and taking of life by those people taking each other's life, and you're there to stop it. So it really it gives you a connection to the suffrage of other people. Like, we don't know those people, they're not Americans, they're not our family members, but still we go and we protect them. And that's our responsibility, and it was an honor to do so. It was a privilege to do so, and at the shoulder to shoulder with these other individuals who would later be catapulted into violence on the level that the bulk of Americans here will not be able to fathom. They'll try, but they're not going to be able to. I mean, that's not their fault. But it is what it is. So, and then that continues on to people during that whole time, people that I knew before I joined the Army are being murdered. And after I come home, it's the same thing more and more and more. And so after a while, you just get exhausted mentally and, spiritually. And it's just like you don't want nothing to do with that. You want to separate yourself, or you just hunker down and kind of just accept it and everything. And it's just I don't know. It's just usually not what infantrymen people do, or people, we run towards danger, and we put ourselves in harm's way when everybody else is not doing that. And so the violence, the caliber of people would be the ones that I'd want to be the furthest away from in the life. So I come back home. I come back to Napa. First I went to Sonoma, and then I went back into the belly of chaos, and I pulled from that garden, which I should not have. And that's my mistake. But if you undo some of your mistakes, you also undo a lot of the positive that is a result of mistakes. So I understand the significance and importance of that. But this individual, rather than embracing and understanding the severity of the circumstance and embracing peace, continued to bring people into the orbit of our family that are chaotic and tethered to murderers and gang members and the very people that should be ostracized and kept furthest away from us. And those choices and decisions have brought us to where we're at now. And like I said, I have to keep my voice down because there's a family next to me now, and they weren't here when I got here, and there's little children, so I don't want what I'm saying here to be heard by them. So I'm going to cut the video short. I'll step back with y'all today. I just wanted you all to see the beautiful view here and share the catharsis of where I live right here, where I work. This is my office space, and the people that I get to meet from across the country. Some of y'all are here, and it's showing support. But when people understand what's going on here in its totality, if it has to go to that level, it's gonna blow people's mind. And I'm trying to gingerly, walk in to give a full collage of everything before we get to the really hardcore stuff in the narrative. But it's going on here in Napa. We've already had court hearings that those of you that have attended, which I know there's people here on this channel that have been there in the courtroom via Zoom. It's one for the books, I'd say. Not saying I'm writing a book about it, but I just want peace. And that was one thing I wanted to say is that, look, there's so many people that could use our help, but we have to reach a certain point in our life where we have to be selfish on behalf of our children. The people that we love, that, hey, if they're going to make chaotic choices again and again and again, we have to understand that if we continue to facilitate the help that they've already thrown away multiple times, we're taking away from our children. That's energy and time that can be spent on our children. And they deserve all of the energy because their future is in front of them. These people's future, their past, and their path is just tick, time after time after time after time. But then we have our children who have a whole path in front of them that we need to make sure that they don't have those tick, those negative outcomes. So if we're constantly going to fix the problems of people who are repeatedly making those, we're taking away from our children and our grandchildren. And to get to that point where it's like you can be selfless and selfish at the same time. We can be selfish for the right reasons, just like we can be selfless for the right reasons. And getting to that point in this path of pain and suffrage, it's crucial. Because there's going to be people that we're just not going to be able to do anything for them. They're going to have to do for themselves. And our children deserve that opportunity and that energy so that we make sure they're not suffering from addiction or from chaotic life circumstances or relationships, because we have a responsibility as parents and as people who have been down those same paths to be like, hey, watch out. It's slippery down there, We've been on those slippery slopes, so we need to let them know, hey, it's an icy edge right there. Don't get too close. And that's our obligation as those who have suffered, to keep them from suffering. And I'm waiting for anybody to come on here and try to challenge that narrative. If you can, let me know. I'm ready. So I'm going to bounce out of here because I don't want to impose on these people's lunch. They seem like they're having a wonderful day.
Thank you. That's a good.
Thank you for coming. So get ready for what's the videos that's coming forward, And I take no pleasure in being here. This is like, I built this on the death of my brothers, and so it almost feels like I'm failing them. But I have an obligation to protect my son, and it sucks because you have to take into consideration too that even protecting your child and those outcomes could potentially harm them, because then it's like now the family's broken. But if somebody is doing things just with complete disregard and bringing people into the orbit, and they don't care because they make all these choices and they make decisions to make love to murderers and kidnappers and gang members, that's not something that should be put forth in front of a child. And if there's anybody that wants to argue that fact, hit me in the comment section, or we can have a debate right here. But I mean, it should be pretty cut and dry. That I'd hope we'd all agree on that. Some people won't. They're going to try to defend the narcissistic mentality, or they're going to defend the narcissist behavior because they themselves are narcissists, or they have made questionable decisions and actions, and they feel as if they don't support that person's negative behavior, that they're also accepting that their negative behavior is not okay. But that's a fallacy. That's a false narrative. It's a thinking error. Yes, you can be doing negative things and then also tell somebody you love, and that's what you're supposed to do. If you love and you care people, you're supposed to tell them, like, no, we got to stop this, or you got to stop this, or we'll stop this together. And y'all got to thank them for confronting the negative behavior, because the people that aren't confronting the negative behavior and just, dancing around the fire, that's not truly somebody who loves you. That's just somebody who needs you to also enforce or affirm their negative behavior. So they're gonna just be like, yeah. All right. And if somebody says something that really does love you, doesn't want to see you hurt, or people around you hurt, they're gonna try to be like, oh yeah, they're gonna make that person. I'm sure we all know that. The narcissists, they'll band together. They got the wall, but even part of that wall should be people that have logical deduction. They can, call a spade and see what it is. And you have to hope that you're able to peel back enough of the layers that people will be like, yeah, what's most important is the future of the children, to empower the child. Their future is more important than anybody within the village that it takes to raise a child. All those people that may have fucked up or didn't mess up or whatever the case may be, they're all second, third, and fourth to the future of our children. And that's got to be pressed front and center. The permission statement. Ride with me.